Hey everyone, it's video blog time. Just released my album, so now I can start, doing video blogs again. And I was doing video blogs where I was kind of like surfing through YouTube and just kind of whatever whatever catches my attention, I was talking about. And now I want to keep doing that. But today's gonna be more of like an old style video blog where I pick a topic and just kind of ramble about it. So I want to talk a little bit about ego in music and entertainment and everything really. But I'll just focus on music because it's what I know. Ego is something that it's a big topic. It can ruin things. It can make things better, and you may be like, well, how can it make things better? Well, that's what I'm gonna talk about. It's a kind of like a fine. Well, I wouldn't say it's a fine line, but because it can cross over. It's a fine line because it's hard to tell when it helps you and when it hurts you. So that's what I mean by that. And let's see if I can remember my points as I go along here. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. Like, you're in a band, and let's just say it's four members, and let's go with the singer, right? The singer's got a huge ego. Um, it's not allowing you guys to get better. It's not allowing to for you guys to get to that next level where you're one unit, because the band should be individuals coming together to make that one unit stronger. Uh, but the singer, let's just say the singer is making that a problem. For many reasons. You want to start, what's the look of the band, right? Look, there's really no right and wrong here. It's just what you guys want to do as a whole, right? So, y'all have to be on the same page somewhat. Uh, at least mostly on the same page. That can get quite complicated. But, so, the singer's like in some other different land than the other three members, and nothing they say can change the singer's point of view, and just he's not playing along. He thinks he knows everything he needs to know and is doing what he thinks is as good as he can possibly be. That's gonna, you know, obviously piss off the rest of the band, right? Or then it can creep into the music. He sings a certain way. Maybe there's something he does that the band is like, well, that doesn't sound good, right? Well, you let him know that, and all of a sudden the singer's like, angry, doesn't want to fix it, thinks it's great. This is like the bottom level of ego, in my opinion. Like, it's something you find obviously with beginners, people just starting, and as you get higher, like, and you get, yeah, I don't know, you just start doing more things, maybe even touring, maybe just playing more shows, and just trying to getting a little more serious about things. You might start seeing like that kind of thing, maybe a little less, maybe not, but that real like primitive level of the ego, like, oh, you never put in like more than 2 hours of practice, to get better at something, yet you think you've already arrived at that point, right? That's a young ego right there, and I mean young as in fresh to music, because I mean technically you could be whatever age and still be like that, but it's fresh to music sort of thing. Uh, Now, at the same time, I'm going to jump into what can be good about ego while you're in the same spot. See, because it's quite tricky. Because let's just say um, this same band, right? Maybe the band doesn't like what the singer's doing. Maybe it doesn't sound that great, right? But we also have to remember that music is about um, well, I mean, it's different for different people, but you're in this band, you're in this one unit, and the chances are that this one unit wants to get to a better place, right? You want to become more successful. You want people to see you. Um, you never really know 100% how people are going to perceive you. You can get better at it. You really can. Um, but you never know 100%. Uh, let's just say this band plays live and people like them, right? Well, this is where it gets quite tricky. The singer that these guys need to that they needs to improve certain things, is going over with the crowd, right? So it's like, head scratcher. Well, he's really cocky. He's really conceited. He's got this big ego, and we think he could do better here. We think he could do better there. Uh, Dressing better, singing better, but we can't argue with the fact that people actually seem to like him, right? Well, at what point is that ego hurting the band, and at what point is it helping the band? It's tricky stuff. Um, so a lot of times, some of the great bands early on will have band members that absolutely hate each other, because it is that animosity, it is that um, it is those differences that maybe the crowd, they don't understand what they're seeing. All they know is what they're seeing seems electric and it seems alive, and that in turn makes them feel electric and alive, and then it goes back and forth because that's how music works live. It gets tossed back and forth. The crowd is just as important as the band. That's why I always say it's not the same thing to play to 2 people than it is to play 100 people or 40 people. It's not the same thing. Granted, if you know that guy, that one guy, is an A&R or something, obviously play your heart out. But yeah, not the same thing. Anyways, so you get all these bands that are like great early on, but they're so faulty, and when it comes to actually being a band, so what do you do? What do you do? Well, for solo artists, it's quite easy when it comes to that regard. Um, a solo artist gets quite trickier later on during the marketing and branding sort of thing. That becomes in my opinion, way harder as a solo artist than it is for a band. But when it comes to connecting with a crowd early on, uh, it, it, it it can be quite tricky, right? Because the band members hate each other. They think that this guy should do this girl should do this, whatnot. But all of a sudden, it's resonating, right? Well, just because it's resonating doesn't mean the rest of the band's gonna be like okay with everything. There's still gonna be problems. There's still gonna be roadblocks, and I want to make this video blog to let you all know if young band members or just young musicians that are just starting out, and I'll get to the problems I see later on as well in careers right now. But I want to make sure that I get the point across that there is, in my opinion, a good side to ego and a bad side to ego. Uh, and I would say have patience with these sort of people, depending what they're bringing to the table. That's very important to me. What are they bringing to the table? Are they bringing something? Is it getting a response? And if it is, well, if you can live with it, then you have to get yourself to live with it, okay? Because maybe you're wrong, or maybe it's not as important of a issue that you thought originally that it was, right? I mean, you have to remind yourself that maybe that's the case, right? Um, and you need to find a way to work as a band, okay, and have your individual presence in the band, while also uh, while that not overshadow the altogether effect. The whole idea of being uh, the sum of your parts. You want to be the best altogether, right? If you're a band, not necessarily, well, I got a great guitar player, I got a great singer. They go crazy every song, and that can tire a crowd out, because that is 100% what can happen. You want to work well in the band setting, and you want everyone to do their part so that it makes the entire show good. And I just want to mention that about the ego. Like it goes all the way to the top of music, where let me say it like this. I've seen so many times, like, okay, like my favorite bands, right? Like U2, Iron Maiden, uh, like Green Day, all these bands. Like, do you think they don't have ego? Like, they have absolutely massive egos. But the difference is they've become so professional, and they know how to work a crowd. They know it works. Like, seriously, if you went to an Iron Maiden concert, right? Um, would you feel like you got your money's worth as a fan, or just you got your worth as a fan? Um, if they all came out and were wearing white T-shirts, uh, like something you'd see like on a beach somewhere, if they were all dressed like that, no Eddie, um, and that's what they did. No showmanship, no nothing. Let's just play the songs. Let's come on, beach wardrobes and stuff. I mean, that's not what they do. Uh, Bruce Dickinson between the songs hangs his head and just kind of says like, "We're thankful for you guys to come out here. We really are." Uh, I don't know what kind of effect that would have, but that's not what they do. And what they do does contain a little bit of ego, and particularly in the singer's uh, job. He has to be like that. He has to jump on the monitors. The little thing he does where he jumps on the monitors. He's got to wave his arms around, as a singer, the way he does it, getting into the music. But some of it is the belief that he knows the band is good. Yeah, it comes from a place of ego at times. Though there's a good side of it. It's a kicking butt effect, and you want that because without that, it wouldn't be nowhere near as good. So obviously, there is a point where people do accept ego. And that's the interesting side to me. And granted, we're dealing with a word here, the word ego, but that describes a lot of things, right? Uh, it describes confidence, arrogance, cockiness. I mean, a lot of these things are very similar. They ride over each other in their meanings. Vain, these are all words that are in the same family, really, when it comes to what they're portraying. And I do think that feeling they're trying to portray is very important in music, and it's also a killer in music. So I don't have it all down, but I know it's very important, and I know it tends to get overseen like as something that's just bad, because it probably is more bad, but it's very important too. Unless you play in a band, maybe, or you're an artist that your thing is absolutely like you're super humble and like if you can actually get a fan base going like that, maybe that's your thing. But it's probably very hard to do that because, and and I know I'm kind of jumping around. I was in the beginning phase of ego and bands and stuff. Yeah, I mean it's very common early on. Then as you go on, um, it may not leave in certain areas. It may progress in a different way after a while. Maybe the whole band has an ego at that point. If you're starting to do things right, you're starting to tour, you're starting to sell records. All of you starting. Well, I should say downloads at this point. Uh, Maybe the whole band's starting to get a little conceited. You're not working as hard anymore because you feel like it just happened. That can happen with a band if they get signed. All of a sudden, it's like, well, we got signed, so we must be great, right? And a lot of times, well, they underestimate the luck part of things. Sometimes luck is a big part of getting signed, and whether you like it or not. It a lot of times is. Most of the times is the big factor. Luck, timing. So you have to remember that and say, it's not that. I mean, maybe I'm good. Maybe I am good, but that without the timing, I just be good to nobody. It's very, very true. You'd be very surprised how famous bands that you like could switch places with your favorite cover bands that have no fans, right? But at the same time, their dreams went down the toilet. The famous band, their dream went down the toilet, and they're not the cover band. And the band that was the cover band, it switched, and they're on big LED screens, in all your favorite football stadiums. You'd be surprised how that can happen. Like, I mean, it doesn't happen, but you'd be surprised, like, what perception can do. It can change things and make it into something that you thought it wasn't. Um, I actually wrote a song about that, in a song called LED, and on my new album, that anybody can have their 15 minutes as long as people see them. You see that all the time nowadays, with crazy like stories that just make people famous, even if it's for a short period of time. Uh, Perception is huge, and it's what's used for big artists to get where they're going. It's like, man, like, yeah, a lot of these bands are really good. Trust me, a lot of the legends are really, really good by the time they're legends. Uh, but any band that's pretty darn good is gonna look really good on a big stage with the lights they have, with the sound they have, with the LED screens they have. Like, yeah, that improves a show, but anyone can look good on that. If they're at that level, at least a certain level and up. And there's countless amount of artists. I mean, you can go to your local pub occasionally and find someone that's not always, but you may go to your local bar and find someone really talented, and you may say, well, why didn't they ever make it? Why didn't they ever sell out stadiums or arenas or even write songs? You know, and it's because it's just the way it is now. You know, it's the sign of the times for musicians. We have to figure out new ways to let music continue. I guess let music find fans. Things are changing so fast now in music that the pathways that you used to use to like get recognized, whatever that may be for you, it has changed quite a bit, and there's no solid way of doing it. So people are getting creative and doing it different ways. But anyways, what I'm saying is that making people respect you for being an artist is it's quite difficult, and it's not necessarily related to how good you are. Once you're at a certain level, you know, and then you can actually get really creative and be even if you're not really good, but as long as you do something that's super memorable and crazy to where it gets shared enough to where people say, hey, he's doing something different or she's doing something different. It's like there really is no right or wrong. Just it just seems like now it's about persistence, just a huge amount of persistence and self-belief and just being bold, I guess. It may sound cliche, but it seems like that's the thing. Like, but you can't leave behind the good idea. There has to be a good idea somewhere, even if it isn't an idea. It's just luck. But it has to it look like a good idea. But anyways, going back to the ego, like I don't know how music's gonna be without ego. Like, cause people don't like ego anymore, even though their favorite artists have it and have learned how to like harness it and use it for better. For example, as a big U2 fan, people say Bono's got this huge ego or whatnot. I mean, I freaking love his ego on stage. Off stage, you know, that's to remain. I won't even talk about him off stage. But in terms of on stage, which is what I'm a fan of, he does so many things that if I did that in a pub or in a small club, people would think I'm crazy. They would say you're unbelievably cocky and you'll get over yourself. But how do you get from there to the pub to the to being successful without having an ego that's likable? At least that you got to make it likable so that people won't say, well, man, who does he think he is? Because when Bono was young, he would do those kind of things too. He would try to get the crowd on his side, and he would do things that maybe some people would say, well, don't do that. Who do you think you are? Well, and after a couple of years, he became Bono. That's who he was, right? And he's huge now, so it makes sense. But the many people that don't ever get there, they stay in that little bubble of, who does she think she is, or who does he think? Hey, we have the right to think who we whatever we want to of ourselves, and if it works, we're geniuses, and if it doesn't, we failed. The one good thing about the internet is it gives you a chance to succeed no matter how old you are. It gives you a chance to succeed no matter where you are in your career. So that's one really positive thing now. But I would urge to not throw your ego away. Check it at the door, right? Check it at the door. It can ruin bands, it can break up bands, but it can also make bands great. You gotta learn how to communicate with each other, and you gotta learn how to respect each other, and realize that there's nothing better than a band that there really isn't. Even the great solo artists had great bands back in the day. I saw Elton John a few years ago. He's got like a lot of band members that have been with him for a long time. You can't recreate that. Like it's magic. U2 is magic because it's the same four guys that met in their kitchen like in 1976 or 77, something like that. It's the same guys. One of the only bands that has band members for that long, with no breakups. So there's something to that. Have patience with that first lineup because I can tell you, like, it may not be your first lineup, but just like have patience once you get that lineup that seems to be working, because people get attached to that, and it's don't underestimate how powerful just that is. Just stepping on stage with four guys that people like to see. That's probably more important than even the music. Like it really is. We are like without sounding all like spiritual or without sounding all like like I'm being preachy. Like there is a big case for this whole energy thing. Like I've been doing music for over 20 years, and I can tell you that there is something weird with energy when you play live. Like it's not, you know, the saying, you know, we make our crowd, or we can make the crowd. That is true to only a point. Like you can try your hardest to make a crowd go your way, but it doesn't always mean the crowd's going to go your way. Sometimes the energy in the crowd is just not matched up with yours. It's just sometimes not, and the more you push it, the more you're going to push them away. And you need to realize that you just need to back off, do your thing, sing your songs. Just because people aren't reacting doesn't necessarily mean they're not enjoying it. Geez, when I go to a concert, I well, unless it's a band that I really love, then I go crazy. But for most of the time when I'm at concerts, I'm just watching. You would think I'm not liking it. If you go by, oh, if he doesn't cheer or clap, you know, he's not liking it. It wouldn't be true for me because I've liked a lot of concerts that I haven't, you know, that I'm just looking like a zombie. So you can't always judge a crowd that way. So if you're playing to a crowd, it's like, man, this crowd sucks. Relax. Try a couple things. Well, if that doesn't work, relax. Keep on doing what you do. Don't force a crowd. Don't say, hey, you know what, you guys, come on. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Especially it didn't work in 1980. Didn't work in 1990. It's especially not going to work in 2018, where everyone in the crowd has a chance for fame on the internet too, just as much as you do. That's the crazy thing about it. Anyone can get a viral video. Anybody. Your grandmother can. Uh, your grandmother can. Anyone in your family can have a viral moment. You could catch your dog doing something silly, all of a sudden it has 30 million views on Facebook, and you get some sort of publicity that you can use for your benefit, you know? Uh, it's not the time to plead to an audience to adore you. You know, it's just not. You got to do it all yourself, okay? It doesn't mean there's not tactics. And the ego, I go back to the ego, it's very important. People hate it now. Like, people really hate to see a guy or a girl that just seems to be full of themselves. I just saw an ad on Facebook earlier. I used to do a lot more Facebook ads. I'm not doing them that much anymore, if even at all. Uh, um, the ad with an artist, it was a solo artist, right? And I saw the picture and I was like, oh, here we go. This guy's gonna get nothing but bad comments, because for certain reasons, it was, well, just to be honest, it was the way he was dressed. I knew when I saw the picture, I was like, this guy's he's gonna get roasted in the comment section, you know, because most of the time people on Facebook ads will just ignore you, you know, scroll past it. But this one, I was like, it's just too much, right? Like he had like this crazy jacket on, he had the wardrobe was just, it was out there, right? But not only was it out there, the surroundings of the picture did not match the wardrobe. His hair didn't match the wardrobe. I'm sorry, but this is part of music. Like, unfortunately, it's what it is. I love fashion, but it is part of it, whether you like it or not. People do judge with their eyes. They judge, you know, with all different ways. But you know, when they see an artist, they will judge with their eyes. I knew as soon as I saw this picture, I was like, this guy's he's gonna get roasted. Like, people aren't gonna ignore it. People are gonna see it and be like, man, you look stupid. You know, and sure enough, with hundreds of comments. I mean, you could say bad publicity is good publicity. I don't know about that in this case, because he's got no machine behind him. Independent, unsigned artist, probably threw some money into an ad, and now he's getting roasted. And it's probably not good, to be honest. And I looked at it and I'm like, well, what he did wrong was he chose a really bad background. He chose to put clothing on that didn't bring him out at all. Because people don't want to share things they don't like at all nowadays. Like, if they say they like a song, right? And I've been a victim of this too. Like, if someone might like your song, but they don't feel comfortable with it on their wall on Facebook. You know, because sharing is the best thing here. Like, sharing is what makes you. Likes are cool. I appreciate them. The comments are even better. But sharing is really what gets you somewhere. To share someone, you have to, like, show your friends this product, this person. So in order to get them to do that, like, they have to like you thoroughly, okay? this is where I go back to saying I think it's a little easier for a band to market and brand early on because it's a little more understanding. I think people have a little bit more leniency with the whole showing their friends what they like when it's a group of people than one person. It's for I can go deeper into that, but I feel like the band has it slightly easier on the do-it-yourself level. When you're a solo artist, I think you got to get all your pieces just right in order for someone to say, hey, it's like getting a tattoo, right? Getting a tattoo of someone's face on you. I mean, man, you got to be like really into that person to get a freaking tattoo of someone's face. It's kind of like that with a solo artist, like to share them. Like you got to really like not just the music, but you got to like the way they look. You got to like what they stand for. You got to like the person pretty much thoroughly in order to say, hey, look, man, I stand by this artist. I like this dude or this girl. Uh, so yeah, you want to start doing Facebook ads, you got to have your T's crossed, your I's dotted, and even then, I wouldn't even promote the Facebook ads anymore because it's just like too many people are doing them. Uh, it's a perception thing once again. Ego doesn't go over that well when there's not something. For example, like if Bono puts his face close to the camera and goes like that, like smiles, everyone cheers right at the concert. It's what Bono does. If I did that or if some other artist did that without the perfect touch, it will get torn down. Now, if that person dressed the way he did, I mean, he would probably have to fix a couple things. But if he dressed the way he did and put it on the right background, had the songs had matched the music just right, I'm not gonna say he would get great comments or not get bad comments, but he would get a lot less bad comments. He may not get any comments, so it's back to square one. But hey, at least you're not getting freaking bashed, because that's the point of the Facebook ads and the ads is like, yeah, it's a long way to where you're getting productive feedback. That's it's helping you get to your next level. Like that guy could fix that, have good music, and still hit a roadblock. But hey, at least it wouldn't be getting criticized. Um, and then you got to figure it out from there and go step by step and figure it out. But that really helps. Dotting the i's, crossing the t's, making sure you're looking in the mirror and saying this is right, this is wrong. It's very hard to look at art subjectively when you're the one making it. Very, very hard. This is a classic thing. It's super hard because I'll tell you why. Because the music is it's you go look at a piano. It's just like 11 notes, right? Just repeat themselves over and over. I'm sorry if I got the number wrong, but you got octaves and octaves and octaves, right? I mean, we all have access to that, and we can all hit 1, 2, 3 notes, and it can make you feel a certain way, and we can capture that, throw it out. Nobody owes you anything when you make music and throw it out. But there's just something about when you make a song that you can feel proud of it and you want to show it. Or I think making a cake, right? You're not going to eat it all yourself. Other people have it. What do you want to hear? Oh, you want to hear that it's good. It's just something we do. And there's the time right now where there's so many artists that you're not really getting that. You're not getting that. And you're going to have to go through a lot of work and a lot of searching on what you got to do to get to that point where people will stand by your art and be proud of it with you. It's no joke, man. It's a competitive world out there, and you can keep improving and to the point where you're like, man, you know what? I feel like I'm getting it done now. But it's a war. It's a war, and it's a war. A lot of it's with yourself, knowing when you got to get better. And I know I'm going away from the whole ego thing, but the ego thing is like, it's very important for DIY people to know this because you can do your best to fix it if you know about it. Like, you don't want to get rid of it because it's what's going to make you be the performer you are. You need to believe in yourself. You need to be little levels of arrogance here and there. Let's face it, getting on a stage and having people clap for you, that's an arrogant behavior, even in its most like, you get on stage, perform an acoustic guitar, people clap. I mean, you enjoy it. It's a primitive thing. Like it feels good. You like it, and that's quite arrogant. It really is. If no one claps and you're upset, I get upset when people don't clap. But I'll be the first to say, it's quite arrogant thing for me to want people to clap, but I guess it's human nature to want to be accepted like that. So don't get rid of that ego. It's what's gonna make you angry. It's gonna push you. It's gonna make you good when you're on stage. When you have a great crowd and you hit that right note at that right moment and people cheer. You're gonna do that little stance or something. People are gonna say, you know what? Yeah, I get that. You get rid of it too much, and you're just this completely humble, unrelatable person because people get angry. People get confident. People have all these emotions, and that's what music is. Um, so you don't want to get rid of it, but you also need to find a way to put it in check in the areas that it needs to be put in check. You know, it's complicated, and sometimes it takes years and years to figure these things out. But that's why I make this video blog to let you realize that. So when next time you hear someone say, "Leave your ego at the door, man," we don't do that here. You think to yourself, "Okay, I'm gonna leave my ego at the door, but I'm gonna keep it in my pocket. I won't put it at the door. Keep it in my pocket, and I'll keep that." You could say that I'm dealing with different words here, like, well, ego is bad, right? And what I'm talking about is confidence. Well, nowadays, you know, everything can be seen as ego. Everything can be seen as cocky. It just depends on the individual, how they measure things, how it makes them feel. And you'd be surprised, man. It can be something as simple as, I don't like that guy's nose. I don't like his eyebrows. I don't like her eyebrows. I don't like her the way she dresses. And then you're gonna be like, well, we're talking about music here. Yes, yes. Um, it look, I can play G, D, and C and sing a certain melody, and you be like, hey, it sounds pretty good. Then you can hear Adam Levine do G, C, and D with the same melody, and you may react differently to how he does it, to how I do it. A lot of it is it's so complicated, but I've been around in music enough to know that little things can make all the difference in the world, and I know the work I'm putting into it to improve what I do. But I also want to throw the info that I know out to get to people that are doing this also, that are in my position, that want to learn something too. And because I look around to try to learn new things as well, and not just in music, but in different avenues of different business entrepreneurs and people hustling to get somewhere. I try to learn it so I can pull it into maybe what I'm doing. So that's my info for today. Ego. You can wrap up all those words I said earlier into it and say, yeah, it's not something that you can just say, leave your ego at the door and come in this band, and we're gonna work hard and be one unit, but we're gonna freaking deplete you of all your personality and all your what makes you great. I'm sorry, but I think the industry has done that to a lot of artists. That's why it's very hard to pick out the artists that have like Freddie Mercury's. Where are they? It hurts me when I hear people say there's no one like Freddie Mercury anymore. And I don't mean that as a dig to Freddie. Freddie, I consider him to be the greatest frontman in rock and roll history. But when people say something like, "Oh, there's no more Freddys anymore," well, yeah, there's no more Freddys. Freddie's a one of a kind. No more Michaels anymore, right? Michael Jacksons. But there are other people with very, very big talents out there. And a lot of times you don't see them because some of these talents refuse to bow down to do things how maybe the industry wants. The industry sees it, they never even get a shot in the industry because, well, so-and-so's maybe too stubborn or, ego. But hey, you know what? I'm sure Freddie, when he was on that stage, he was confident. And some people, if he was performing in a small bar and no one knew who he was, someone just may have said, guy's got an ego. Well, yeah, he should have an ego. He's freaking awesome. But you got to also be professional with that ego. You can't, no one owes you anything. Okay, you got to make that happen. And you got to make people like that side of you. So it's a work in progress for every single musician, to try to get that balance. But anyways, it's a big thing, learning that balance, because people will roast you for it, but they'll also love you for it if you can get that balance right. I'm working on it. Yeah, everyone around me sees me, busting my head, trying to figure out new ways to not record music. I've done that already, to get my music out there. And I try to come up with ideas with my support team, with how to go forward and promote my music. It's not just playing live aimlessly, because you if you do that, you may not, it won't change anything. It's fun to play live, but you also want to play live to where there's people there. You don't want to just keep on going. And I mean, maybe you do, but I know most people want to improve as they go along. So I'm working on that. And if you're another musician in the same place, you just gotta keep trucking. You gotta keep working, and figuring out things. It's all in the nuance. It's all in the nuances. And well, once you're at a certain level, I believe it's all in the nuances. When you're first starting, you may be at the point where you gotta improve to get people to care. And once you get to that level, it's all about the nuances. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll have more like this coming out soon. I have the time now. So, anyways, my new album is out. Check it out on Chris Guy Music. It's the first 8 songs. I'm really, really proud of the new album. I kind of gave it a break. I hadn't heard it in about a week, and then I heard it today. I'm like, yes, this is why I worked hard on it. I think this may be my favorite album I've done so far. But yeah, check it out. Until next time, rock on.